There's a sort of misconception as to what exactly constitutes pulp fiction. You see, pulp novels got that name because of the cheap paper they were printed on. The name wasn't a comment on necessarily the content, but on the very nature of the novels. These were short stories made for cheap and produced by the dozens for the reading pleasure of many a teenager, ranging from tales of adventure and romance a la Doc Savage to seedier, sleazier affairs concerning crime and the criminal underbelly of society. Pulp Fiction, the movie, is inspired by the latter.
We happy? Vincent, we happy?
It's honestly hard to even come up with stuff to talk about regarding Pulp Fiction. It's such a venerated movie, and for good reason. It cemented Tarantino as a household name, propelled Sam Jackson into stardom, got John Travolta out of one of the many career ruts he's been in over the years, and marked the first collaboration between Tarantino and Uma Thurman, who's gonna show up again later in this marathon. Before any of that though, let me just give a quick plot synopsis to the three people who haven't seen this movie. Pulp Fiction is an anthology movie covering some short stories all taking place in the city of Los Angeles, all following an eclectic set of characters. We have the Axeman duo of Jules Winfield and Vincent Vega, soon-to-be retired boxer Butch, LA Kingpin Marcellus Wallace, Marcellus's wife Mia, along with several other minor characters which actually managed to cause quite an impression, such as Wolf, played by Harvey Keitel returning from Reservoir Dogs, or taxi driver Esmeralda. Pulp Fiction really takes us along several locations within the city of LA, contributing to a fundamental aspect of noir storytelling: the setting. Movies such as Naked City are where this becomes more apparent, but one ubiquitous aspect of film noir is precisely the feeling of a living, breathing world. This is where the expanded cast really contributes. Just seeing all these different people going about their lives, some of them completely oblivious to each other's existence, really drives the point home. To paraphrase Naked City, there are thousands of stories all taking place in that city every day. What we see are just a few of them. Tarantino's style is also more pronounced here than before, largely thanks to the budget increase. For comparison, Reservoir Dogs had a reported budget of about $1.2 million. Pulp Fiction had a budget of around $8.5 million, an over 500% increase, and it's all right there on the screen. More special effects, fancier camera work and editing, the works, and also it allowed Tarantino to hire some more recognizable faces, such as the previously mentioned John Travolta, who turns in a strong performance as Vincent, and the man himself, Samuel L. Jackson, marking the first of their long list of collaborations. While the movie does feature several different characters and stories, Jules, played by Jackson, is arguably the protagonist here. More on that on the spoiler section. One thing I'd like to talk about before then is the non-linear narrative, which kinda shows up in Reservoir Dogs but is more noticeable here. The stories don't all take place one right after the other, and in fact, I'm willing to bet most people who watch the movie for the first time spend at least a little bit of time thinking about in which order the movie's events take place in. Now, I've seen people criticize the movie for this, saying the out-of-order storytelling is just the result of Tarantino wanting to show off or make the movie needlessly convoluted or make it seem deeper than it really is. I disagree. I think the non-linear story helps the movie deliver its theme, which I'll discuss in greater detail later. But just on a more surface level, it's better the way it is. If the movie were re-edited to be completely chronological, certain emotional beats wouldn't hit as hard. The ending would be totally different, and you'd be jumping from the middle of one story to the other without much rhyme or reason. So yeah, if you haven't seen this yet, do it. It's Pulp Fiction. Just about every movie fan has seen this and can quote entire conversations from it. There's an endless array of text posts, videos, edits, and just fan content out there gushing about how great this movie is. It's one of the greatest American classics from the past century, and you really owe it to yourself to check it out if you haven't already. We're moving on to the spoiler section now, but before we do, if you're enjoying this video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps. Alright, we're gonna discuss spoilers now. Skip ahead to this moment if you don't want spoilers. 3, 2, 1... Okay, so I said Jules is arguably the main character here, right? This is because he kind of embodies the theme of the movie. The guy has a spiritual epiphany during the apartment shootout and decides he doesn't want this life of crime and violence anymore. Vincent completely disagrees and has a very cynical take on the whole situation, attributing the two men's survival to simple luck. Now, I am a religious person, right? But I wouldn't call the movie pro-religion, not necessarily. The point it's trying to make is much more basic, I think. You see, Jules sees beyond the seedy criminal underbelly of Los Angeles and wants to get out of it, to become a better person, whereas Vincent seems perfectly content where he is in life. This difference between the two men is what gets Vince killed by Butch. If he had just come to the same realization Jules did and also decided to abandon his criminal ways, he wouldn't be in Butch's house when he got there. Despite how controversial the movie was upon release, with some people criticizing its over-the-top violence and crude language, it actually has a very positive message at its core. The world can be a chaotic place filled with crazy coincidences, but people who strive to do the right thing and become better manage to find escape from that. Butch's story also covers that. Him killing Vincent, running into Marcellus, and getting kidnapped by Zed, Maynard, and the Gimp are all complete coincidences. He didn't plan on any of this. The only two significant choices Butch makes during his story are to go back for his father's gold watch and to save Marcellus's life from the men. Going back for the watch is absolutely not the right move from a pragmatic point of view, but it's a choice made out of moral principle. Same thing with saving Marcellus. And it's only that good deed which means Butch doesn't have to spend the rest of his life on the run from mobsters. Oh, his girl is also super cute, by the way. I couldn't find anywhere else in the video to put this, so yeah, super cute. Finally, Vincent's story sees him doing the right thing and not banging his boss's wife, but it's really not like it was much of a choice, right? Vince really has to talk himself into not doing it, to the point where he spends several minutes in the bathroom just trying to convince himself. And also, maybe, you know, bopping the weasel, as the kids say. We can argue all day and night about whether Vincent and Mia would have actually done the deed if she hadn't overdosed, but all I'm saying is her ODing was ironically quite convenient for our boy. Vincent does the right thing and saves her life, but really, he only does it because circumstances force him to do it. By the way, I'm not hating on Vincent right now. I love the guy and I love Travolta's portrayal of him. He and Jules managed to be both extremely stupid looking and also stylish. I also love the line, "Jules, you give that fucking Nimrod $1,500 and I'll shoot him on general principle." It's just that I wouldn't call Vega a shining beacon of morality, if that's alright with you. But seeing as I just quoted the scene, let's talk about Pumpkin and Honey Bunny at the diner. Their scenes bookmark the beginning and end of the movie. At the start, they're chomping at the bit to rob the place, but after the absolute madness, the sheer tomfoolery that goes down with Jules and Vincent, I don't think they're going to be doing any more robberies anytime soon. It all goes back to that theme of highly unlikely coincidences, or maybe divine intervention, leading people to make better choices. Oh, one last tidbit I'd like to mention concerns Vincent again. You'll notice his full name is Vincent Vega. Well, in Reservoir Dogs, you had Vic Vega, played by Michael Madsen. According to Madsen, Tarantino actually had plans to make a movie about the two characters, where they're revealed to be brothers, and as far as I know, that's about as much information on the movie as we got. If I had to guess, the project didn't go forward because Tarantino just couldn't really figure out what to do with the characters. I mean, okay, they're brothers. What now? Is the whole movie just them going on a job? It has to be a prequel to both Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, since the two guys die. Also, how do you explain Mr. White looking exactly the same as Wolf? Or Mr. Orange looking the same as Pumpkin? Tarantino never really did a sequel to any of his movies, and that's probably for the best. They work great as standalone stories taking place in their own little worlds. Vince and Vic being brothers is a nice little piece of trivia, but it doesn't need to be anything more than that. Pulp Fiction was a smash hit at the box office, getting showered with praise and accolades left and right, and to this day it's still considered one of the best movies of all time. That's great and all, and I imagine Tarantino was downright elated with the reception the movie got, but after a while, things settle down and you're just left with one question. What now? Pulp Fiction was just Tarantino's second theatrically released movie. You have to imagine there were fears that he had peaked early and didn't have much of a career ahead of him. In this scenario, a lot of directors might have taken the easy route. Go for broke. Pulp Fiction 2, baby. Bigger, badder, and more ridiculous than the first one. Instead, Tarantino went on the absolute opposite direction, making his most subtle, downbeat, and small-stakes movie ever, the infinitely underrated Jackie Brown, aka the subject of our next review. See you there.